Hello, ladies. So, can you believe that we are on day 5 of week 2 already? Seems like it's going by so fast. The next video I do will be week 3. It's crazy. Okay, anyway. So, today is about Joseph. All right, so Angie says, okay, so you might have heard the story of Joseph and his rainbow colored robe, but do you understand why that was so important? Say no. Please say no, because I want this to be an aha day for you. So we know Joseph was Jacob's favorite. So did everyone else, including his bitter brothers. In fairness, Joseph didn't play it down very well. He actually made a point of reminding them how special he was. His dad gave him a robe of many colors to signify his importance, and Joseph strutted around his brothers while wearing it and declaring his position in the family. Okay, first question says, read Genesis 37, 1 through 11, and record the gist of what Joseph told his brothers about his dreams. Okay, so in Genesis 37, 1 through 11, and Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peacefully unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. And his brethren said unto him, shalt thou reign over us? Shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it to his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon, and 11 stars that made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow ourselves down to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. So, my answer is that Joseph told his brothers that he would rule over them, that them and his parents would all bow down to him. They're over him, really over him. So they do what any of us would do with our dreamy, prideful sibling. They ripped off his robe and threw him in a dry well to die. Okay, we might not be quite that dramatic and take such drastic measures, but anyway. Then they decided to sell him into slavery to the Ishmaelites. Where have we heard that name? Yep, these are the descendants of Ishmael, our favorite wild donkey of a man. For dramatic effect, they slaughter a goat and dip the robe in its blood to show their father, to convince him that Joseph has been killed by wild animals. Just a mental note, the slaughter of the goat is another sacrifice being made to cover up this sin, this evil thing that his brothers are doing to him, acting like he's dead. Needless to say, this moment probably didn't make it into the family scrapbook. Obviously, Jacob is devastated that now he has lost his favorite wife and his favorite son, and he goes into a period of mourning where no one can comfort him. Little does he know that God has a huge surprise for him a few years down the road. So Joseph's captors take him to Egypt and sell him as a slave. Boo. His owner comes to depend on Joseph. Yay. But then his wife falsely accuses him of rape. Boo. Joseph is thrown in prison for his crime, where he interprets dreams for prisoners and eventually for Pharaoh. Joseph lands in the good graces of the ruler. Yay. It's a roller coaster for sure, but it ends with Joseph as second in command over all of Egypt. Yay. The dream Joseph had interpreted for Pharaoh includes telling him that Egypt is going to have plenty of food for the next 7 years, followed by 7 years of famine. He warned Pharaoh to stock up while he could, and Pharaoh listened. When the famine came, Egypt had more food than they needed, but the surrounding areas were suffering terribly. And here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Who shows up in Egypt? Genesis 42, 6 through 8. Let's just see. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him, with their faces to the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spoke roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. So who shows up in Egypt? Joseph's brothers. Well, not all of them. Which one is missing from the crew, and what does Joseph tell them to do? Genesis 42, 20. But bring your youngest brother unto me, so shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. So he tells them to bring the youngest brother, which his name is Benjamin. So they bring him to Joseph. Okay, next question says, look back at the list you made of Israel's 12 sons. What insight does it give you unto Joseph's request? So Benjamin and Joseph were both sons that Israel or Jacob had by the wife that he loved, Rachel. And so what I think is probably Jacob's new favorite son is Benjamin. Or he's all he has left, because he's lost Rachel, and then he's lost Joseph, and now all he's got is Benjamin, and Rachel died giving birth to him. So to me, I'm sure Benjamin is very important to Jacob. The boys head back home and tell Israel they're going to need to bring Ben back to Egypt with them. Daddy's not happy about it, but gives permission, sends them on their way. Who does Joseph ask them about in Genesis 43, 26 through 31? And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed themselves to him to the earth. And he asked them of their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he yet alive? And they answered, The servant our father is in good health, he is yet alive. And they bowed down their heads and made obeisance. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom you spoke unto me? And he said, God be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. And he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and said, Set on bread. So who does he ask them about in Genesis 43, 26 through 31? He asked about the welfare of his father to see if he was still alive. And then it says, what brings Joseph to tears? Seeing his brother Benjamin, his mom's son, his mother's son. Up until this point, the brothers really didn't understand why they've been brought into the palace and treated so well. I imagine them shooting one another glances while they feast, wondering what brought about this amazing opportunity. Eventually, Joseph reveals himself to them. Read all of Genesis 45 for yourself because it's spectacular on so many levels. Okay, so this is a lot to read, but I'm going to read it anyway. So, Genesis 45. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near. And he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life. For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years, in which there shall neither be earning nor harvest. And God sent me before you to preserve you, a posterity in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all of the land of Egypt. So this is pretty amazing because, I'm just going to stop for a second, but it's pretty amazing because, I'm sure that they didn't know what to say because they thought, oh man, he is about to punish us and probably put us to death or something. But he's seen it as God did this. God put me here so that I could provide for you when there's no food, and I could help and save my family. It's pretty awesome. Joseph trusted God and knew why he was put there. Verse 9, Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all of Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not, and thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household, and all that thou hast, come to poverty. If you don't come, then, you're going to have nothing. And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you. And ye shall tell my father of all my glory in Egypt, and all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck, and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed all of his brethren, and wept upon them, and after that his brethren talked with him. And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house, saying, Joseph's brethren are come. And it pleased Pharaoh well, and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, Say unto thy brethren, This do ye, lad your beast, and go, get you unto the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come unto me. And I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land. Now thou art commanded, this do ye. Take you wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Also regard not your stuff, for the good of all of the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provision for the way. To all of them he gave each man changes of raiment, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver, and 5 changes of raiment. And his father he sent after this manner: 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. So he sent his brethren away, and they departed, and he said unto them, See that ye fall not out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt, and came unto the land of Canaan, unto Jacob their father, and told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not. And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. Okay, this next question says, make any notes that come to mind when you read this. Did anything surprise you, inspire you, give you any insights into the story? My answer that I wrote down is God's timing is perfect. He knows what our future holds, what we have, and what we will have need of. Even when things seem awful, He is in control and working all things for our good. Angie says, I love how tender Joseph is in these paragraphs, and the way you can see the little boy in him. He wants to see his dad and to reassure his brothers that all is well, and God has had his way. He doesn't waste a moment by letting them stew in regret. He simply says that God prevailed over their evil intentions. Well, that'll preach. Jacob and Joseph are reunited, and Pharaoh blesses Jacob. They are given the best of the land and ensured plenty of food and goodness, and all is well. Read Genesis 47:29 through 31. What is Jacob's dying request? And the time drew nigh that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph, and said unto him, If now I have found grace in thy sight, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt, but I will lie with my fathers, and thou shalt carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. And he said, Swear unto me. And he swore unto him, and Israel bowed himself upon the bed's head. So he wants to be buried where his family is buried. He doesn't want to be buried in Egypt. He wants to be buried in Canaan. Egypt is not his homeland. Canaan is. In Genesis 49, Jacob blesses all of the sons and prophecies what their lives and legacies will hold. Read Genesis 49:28 through 33 and record what you learn about the specific place where Jacob will be buried. I didn't write anything down because I think that copying these scriptures down pretty much answers that. So I'm just going to read that. Starting in verse 28. And all these are the 12 tribes of Israel. And that is it, that their father spoke unto them and blessed them, every one according to his blessing. He blessed them. And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered upon my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron, the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field Ephron, the Hittite, for possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah. The purchase of the field and the cave that is therein was from the children of Heth. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed, and kneeled up the ghost, and was gathered unto his people. So he tells very specifically in those scriptures where he wants to be buried. He wants to go home to Abraham's home, Sarah's home, Isaac's, Rebekah's home, Leah's home. He wants to be gathered with his people in death, and Joseph honors his request. He and all his brothers carry the body of their father and lay him to rest in the same cave as his ancestors. Now Jacob is gone. Joseph's brothers wonder, now that Jacob is gone, Joseph's brothers wonder if he'll turn his back on them, or worse. Read Genesis 50:19 through 21 to find out. And Joseph said unto them, Fear not, for am I in a place of God. But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Now therefore fear ye not, I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them. So it's pretty neat too, and you can see that God is in his heart, because you would be angry if all your brothers turned against you and sold you. I mean, can you imagine and tell your dad, which I don't know if Joseph knew that Jacob thought he was dead, but he was sold, and he couldn't go back to tell him that he was okay. So I'm sure he didn't really know what they had told his dad, but that would be, you would think you'd sit there and think on that, but he didn't. He just gives all the glory to God, and that's pretty amazing. So the end says the book of Genesis ends with the death of Joseph. Oh, that's not the end. Never mind. Read Genesis 50:22 through 26 and describe where Joseph was buried. Does this surprise you? Why or why not? And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machirah, the son of Manasseh, were brought up upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you, and bring you out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, and being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Egypt was his home for a long time. So he was buried in a coffin in Egypt. I don't know. That's not real surprising to me. I guess, You might think he would want to be buried with his family, but I don't know. Egypt was his home. Before we end this week's lesson, let's just take a minute for an overall recap. Let's see how much of this you can fill in by memory, and then look through your notes for the ones you can't recall. Also says, or you can check Genesis 35:23 through 26, 41:45 through 46, and Matthew 1:2. So, just going to kind of run over this real quick. Abraham and Sarah had Isaac. Isaac married Rebekah. Rebekah and Isaac had Esau and Jacob. Jacob married Leah. He also married Rachel. He also had maidservants, Bilhah and the Zilpah. Yeah. I don't know how to say these names, y'all. So, with Leah, he had Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Zechar, Zebulun, and apparently Dinah. I don't remember Dinah, but we just talked about the sons. Luckily, that one was filled in for us. Okay, and then with Rachel, he had Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph married Asenath and had Manasseh and Ephraim. With Bilhah, he had Dan and Naphtali. Whatever. Y'all pronounce these names for me. Whenever you read this, whenever you go over this by yourself, just ignore the names that I'm saying and say them right if you know them. Because I don't. Zilpah had Gad and Asher. So the ones we filled in should have been Rebekah from top to bottom. Rebekah, Jacob, Joseph on the right, and Judah on the left. If I got them right. Hopefully I did. Okay. Okay, this last page says fun fact. Here's a fun fact just because it amuses me. Did you ever hear of the Hyksos? I didn't think so. No, I definitely have not. Well, though the archaeologist types argue over every detail, here's the broad strokes of the story. The three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, in Genesis 9:18, become the fathers of three extended families of the human race. The children of Shem are known as Semites. Who would have thought? The descendants of Ham, the Hamitic peoples, and the descendants of Japheth, the Iranians. What's that about? Yeah, that's weird. The Semitic people include the Hebrews, the Arabs, and many other groups. The Hamitic people include the Egyptians. Enter the Hyksos. The long and the short of it is the Hyksos were Semitic people who conquered Egypt in the 18th century BC. This is horrible. I can't pronounce these words. They introduced the horse and chariot to Egypt. Then about 1521 BC, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, the Thebans, native Egyptians, rebelled and threw out the Semitic Hyksos. Why does this all matter? Well, Joseph went to Egypt during the Hyksos period. The Pharaoh who promoted Joseph to second in command of all Egypt was a fellow Semite. And 400 years later, when the book of Exodus says, A new ruler who had not known Joseph came to power in Egypt. The ruler the Bible was talking about was an Egyptian who came to power after they threw out the Hyksos. Is that fascinating or what? I told you the Bible is talking about real people with real events in real history. Next time, maybe you'll believe me, and nobody needs to get hurt. That really just sounded like a bunch of words that I didn't know. You might be better off clicking on that and letting it read it to you or something. Anyway, so that is all of week 2. We're done with week 2. So we will be meeting up soon to go over the questions that are at the beginning of week 3. If you guys want to go ahead and kind of answer some of them if you want to, and we'll discuss them when we get together. Love you, ladies. Bye.